Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Livesplaining. I am Father Jacob Bertrand, and you are...
This is Father Bonaventure Chapman.
That's not what it says in your screen.
What is there something supposed to say? Oh yeah, that's sorry.
Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to do that aggressive entrance though?
Yeah, you can if you want. You did it.
Okay.
So that's great. Father Bonaventure.
Bingo.
There you go. I was
It's
going
the
to
end.
ask how things are going, but I can ask more specifically. How's the fall going?
Yeah.
Fall adventure.
You know, fall is my favorite season, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Winter's good too, but fall is great, and I always feel like I don't do fall well. I think I've talked about this before, but it was nice here. It's a lot of walking, a lot of leaves. I think the amount of leaves I see and walk by is somewhere directly proportional to how much I enjoy the fall. And since I walk back and forth from campus through tons of leaves on a daily basis here, it meant it was a good fall. So yeah, we're just finishing. Thanksgiving's coming up for all those of us in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know, just made that up.
Okay. Isn't it northern and southern hemispheres? But yeah, that's all right.
So we're on break. We got 2 more weeks of classes after this, so the semester
Basically
is
done.
Yeah, it's aiming that way. So yeah, all is good. How about in Hanover and the Great Saint Denis?
Things are good. Fall is like kind of past at this point. It's been chilly here, like really cold. I mean, it's been like cold. We're supposed to get snow tonight. It's actually supposed to start right now, but my blinds are closed, as you can see behind me. So I can't tell you if it's snowing yet, but it'll be like our third snow of the season. So
wow,
fall is gone.
So just the end here, but yeah.
What's that?
It's just the end here, really. It's kind of it's getting colder and wet, but we just don't get snow and like you guys do, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's melted and stuff. It hasn't, like, it's stuck on some of the the grass and stuff, but it's pretty much gone. But we're supposed to get a little bit, 3-4 inches tonight. So we'll see. I don't have the mass in the morning, so I don't have to deal with that, which is nice. So
hey, nice. Yeah. Snowball fight. Just pummel that priest with snowballs as he goes out.
Father Timothy.
Yeah, and maybe spray a hose, put some water in the front of his outside like the door that he goes out. So he can like slip and slide and break his hip.
It'll be tough, but I'll think about it. I'll come up with some scheme at some point, and then we can live explain the ways that we have.
It's like Home Alone, except churches.
Yeah. So, anywho, well, we thought we'd start tonight by talking a bit about some fall reads, must reads of the season, and then we'll turn to our Q&A. So, as always, if you have questions related to fall's finest must reads, you can drop them in the comment box and we'll get to them. If you have questions about things that are unrelated to what we're going to talk about for a few minutes, that's also great. You can drop them in the comment box and we will get to those too. So feel free to fill them in. And we have some questions from some of our Patreon donors, so we will pepper those in. But otherwise, we're just here chatting. So fall reads. Well, I guess this could be taken in two ways, right? Like, are you currently reading anything interesting now that it's fall or that fall is set in? Or are there any go-tos that you like to pick up in the fall?
Yeah, as the seasonal reading, I like the I guess I feel I gravitate towards something seasonal reading. I think of Christmas Time, Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot is kind of a Christmas read, you could say. I'd intended to do War and Peace this fall as a sort of fall winter, but I think I'm going to push that off to the winter because Russian, it just seems like that needs a thing of snow. But what am I reading that's kind of fallish, you could say? Well, it's like politics season again. So I picked up. I've never read 1984, George Orwell. No, I've read Brave New World, which I want to reread as well. But it seems like because fall has a sort of like depressing, but maybe it won't be as bad as you think sensibility to it, and that's kind of the state of the world, or at least America. It seems to me sometimes. And I've been thinking, these things are more relevant than ever. Right, these books and this. You would have thought that totalitarian communist books, Brave New World, Animal Farm, 1984, would be passé at this point since the wall fell. But actually, I think they're more important now than they were then for us.
They certainly have import now, for sure.
Yeah, because I wondered what students in the high schools would read. Generally, this is when we read these things, and and what they read now, given but actually, I hope they're probably not reading these books. But I hope they are, because it's a good thing to pay attention to, so you don't like lose your country and stuff. So that's one. And then the other thing is, I've been doing the oh man, T.S. Eliot. So The Wasteland. I just love, that's a great fall, because that's about the collapse of Western civilization. That's just one of the best poems in the world in history. It's really, in the English language. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So that Hollow Men kind of stuff, and that can swing you to the Murder in Cathedral. And then in the spring, I guess you do Mr. Possum's Amazing Cats or whatever. The musical Cats was based off of his play. T.S.
Really?
Eliot. Yeah, it's called. Let me look it up. It's right here. It is Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. That's the origin of the musical Cats. Is
Really?
T.S. Eliot?
T.S.
Eliot's.
Who knew?
Play. Yeah, it's
Well,
like Shawshank Redemption was written by. Do you know?
Nope.
Stephen King.
That's right. Yeah,
isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, I did know that, but I had forgotten. Obviously, that sounds
Yeah.
familiar. I took it out of the Mind Palace now, and I remember.
Yep. So that's two. And then the other thing, I just, on recommendation of a professor, is Dietrich Bonhoeffer's Life Together. This is it's a small book.
Yeah.
But it's quite good. It's really, he kind of talks about the Christian community, and he's trying to reinvent religious life in a way. But there's some really good kind of passages on there about forgiveness in a community, and about being open to others in a community, how God, like how you need to associate or work out your time based on what God's schedule is and what he puts in front of you as opposed to yourself. So there's some really cool insights in there. So that's kind of my fall reading, is 1984 and T.S. Eliot, but then finishing up Bonhoeffer.
Nice.
You?
I sort of set up the question so that I could answer it on my terms, I guess, of classic fall reading and then stuff that I'm reading right now. But classic, I don't know if it's classic. It's classic for me. In the fall, I think we've done an episode on Donna Tartt too, but I often read a Donna Tartt novel.
I was thinking about doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, particularly I like The Secret History. It's one of my favorite books. So I often read it in the fall. I read it last fall for like the 4th time. But I'm not reading it this fall.
Okay.
So
I really like The Goldfinch. I finally read that after you talked about it so much, and I did like it. I did really like it. So I haven't read Secret History though.
Yeah, they're both good. They're both great. I like Secret History better. It's not as big. It doesn't take as much. The Goldfinch it's
massive.
It's a commitment. It's worth it, but it's a commitment to get through it. But the Secret History takes place largely. Well, it kind of follows the course of a year, an academic year. These students. But a lot of like the climax and a lot of that goes through the fall into the early winter. So it's sort of in this this fictional New England kind of campus. That's often been said, like if you can imagine, well, I'm at Dartmouth. I'm here at Dartmouth, kind of a Dartmouth kind of setting, or like a Middlebury or like an Amherst, like that kind of like New England kind of school. So it's kind of fitting. But this fall, I haven't read any Donna Tartt. I've been reading this author, Nathaniel Philbrick. He's he's a historian. So I've been reading a couple of his books. I read one earlier in the fall on the whale ship, the Essex, that was the whaling ship that was sunk, that inspired Melville to write Moby Dick. So it's the true account of that, which is really great. It's history, because he's a historian. I'll get that out without stuttering. He's a historian, but they read as sort of like popular reads. So they're really good that way. But I guess more appropriate to the fall, I just read his book on the Pilgrims or the Puritans and the Mayflower.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it sort of begins like 16. The lead, I guess they came, the Pilgrims landed in 1620.
1784 or something, right?
1620.
What?
Yep.
After George Washington? No, we're talking about, right? We're talking about after.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, same people.
Okay.
So it's a couple years before they get on the Mayflower, and then it's through the end of King Philip's War, so like the 1670s, 1680s. So basically the first 3 generations of Plymouth Colony, their relations with the Indians, with the Native Americans, or for whatever their indigenous folk, and then the other surrounding colonies. So I found it to be super fascinating and really interesting.
Well, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. So what's the
no, Thanksgiving's in 2 days, but
2 days.
Yeah.
Time doesn't, whatever.
Thursday.
2 days. So 2 days, get ready.
Yeah.
Man.
So it
Big
kind of
takeaways of like what, I mean, I assume you'll be preaching mostly about the pilgrims. Big takeaways for like something impressed you, or what about these folk?
um well, I would say the thing that impressed or that caught me most was I mean, we're kind of all familiar with what struggles, trials of their first landing. They're not having food, all of this that led to like that meal that became Thanksgiving and all of that, their first tough winter. But what surprised me was how quickly things changed within a generation or two. On two fronts. One on the Puritans came over to seek religious freedom from the Church of England.
Mhm.
And that sort of, I mean, it didn't fall apart, but with generations, the zeal for that kind of wanes. So
Mhm.
that was surprising how quickly that
Mm.
happened.
Yeah.
And then secondly, and on the one hand, the deterioration, but also the continuation of the relationship with the Native Americans. That led to King Philip's War, the like 14-month war between the colonists and the Native Americans, but a lot of Native Americans and the colonists worked together too. So the all of the sort of politics of that was just like really interesting to read, the dynamic back and forth. And yeah, I just found it to be
Yeah.
pretty fascinating. So
Yeah. I know
um
nothing about that time period.
yeah, if you're looking for some kind of
Philiburton.
yeah, Nathaniel Philbrick. I don't know what you
Okay.
just said, but Nathaniel Philbrick is great.
Halliburton.
He has another book. He lives on Nantucket Island, and he has another book on Nantucket, which was,
Nice, your people.
where the whaling like companies. I don't know what to say about that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Was it like the East India Tea Whale Company or something?
No, I think those were different things. But one of the things I
Gosh.
didn't learn, I learned from that book, which is not really what I'm going to talk about. Then I'll stop rambling. Is that Nantucket was founded, at least colonist wise, by Quakers largely. So like the whaling out of Nantucket was done by Quakers generally, which I didn't know.
Oh,
Which is yeah,
yeah.
there you go. You learn
Whale
something new
chairs.
every day.
I was thinking,
Um,
as mentioned the fall thing and the school. I should add a separate piece. John Knowles. Have you read John a separate piece by John Knowles?
a
I think you.
long time ago.
Yeah, that seems like a good fall read too. It's not long, but about Phineas.
Yeah.
And that's a great book. But it's set in kind of Devon, I think, is the college or the prep
Yeah.
school, so it's up
Yeah.
there as
I
well.
think I read it
So
in early high school or something like that. So it's been a while.
yeah, it's good to come. It's fun to come back and read books that you read like in early high school. I mean, Tale of Two Cities was the book that got me to start reading, basically, and I haven't
Okay.
read that since junior year in high school. I wonder what it would be like to read that now. Part of me what doesn't want to because
Yeah.
you might be like, oh, because mythology develops around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there we go.
Cool. All right. Well, if you have any other comments about fall reads, feel free to interject. But otherwise, we're going to
I
start
don't.
turning to some questions. So we'll start with
Let's
a few
do it.
questions from our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can always do so on Patreon. So check that out. We're going to start with that, and then also we'll turn to our live questions just after we get through a few of those. But let's start with this. So drop your questions in the comment box. We're going to turn to them. All right. Hi, Friars. My 5-year-old son has ceaselessly been asking my husband and I where God came from and
Mhm.
who are his parents. He asked our parish priest as well, and all of the answers given seem to frustrate him. I'm wondering if you could direct me to a resource whereby I can do some reading and get a better grasp on this topic, and in so doing, help to facilitate conversation with my son, or at least start to lay down some foundations. Thank you, Marie. This is a good question. Father Bonaventure, do you have any resource
Yeah, it's
suggestions?
man, no, I don't. I don't think so. William Lane Craig does some children's books, and he's like a analytic theologian. But it's kind of I don't. It's a great question. Um, where does God come from? Because it shows like the lack of understanding of what what God is. But of course, at the same time, like if a college student, one of my college students says, "Well, where does God come from?" and I can just say, "Well, you should use your brain a little bit." Like that's just not, it's not a question that you ask. It's a category mistake. because he's not a god. He's not a thing that comes from things. But for a 5-year-old, like how do you get you need analogies or something? So you need something that you need things like, I guess, yeah, that would be on a 5-year-old level. What would be good? Like, where do numbers come from? He's probably not into that either. Um, I'm sure there's some like how do you answer this.com answer to this thing. I'm trying to think if I had a 5-year-old. So my niece is 5 years old. And so she might ask like, where does God come from? And I think I would say like, he doesn't come from anywhere. He's just always been around. He's like, I don't know, like that creepy guy outside, that kind of thing. Um, but if that doesn't like satisfy, then I don't. Yeah, I mean, part of it's like it's hard to answer that question with anything but he doesn't. He doesn't come from anything.
Yeah. I don't have any research, like anything that pops to mind as far as resource or like a better answer than what
5-year-old.
you've
Yeah,
given, kind of just
it's an awesome
saying,
question.
yeah,
Like it's worth
but
meditating on as adults. Like seriously, we're committed to this. The fact that like before everything was, and not just like you, and not just dinosaurs, but like everything, there was. So before there was, and it's like mind explosion. You know.
yeah. So I don't think we have a great answer, but
Mm-mm.
I don't know if there is a great answer for this with a 5-year-old. I think that you're looking and asking for an answer kind of shows that a bit. So
Yeah.
sorry we couldn't be more helpful, but
Yeah.
I guess
We're not
that's
good. We're
where we
not
are.
good with kids. Not our thing.
Oh, maybe. All right. Here's another question from Stephanie, another Patreon supporter. Any advice on getting over the urge to complain? I have a chronic pain and I tend to complain, which a priest told me my grumbles are blasphemy.
Oh, cool.
From
Stark.
Stephanie.
That's strong. Thumbs up to
Yeah.
that guy. Wow. That's
So I don't.
pretty strong.
It's. I would say that that's categorically not blasphemy. It doesn't fall into the definition of what blasphemy is of
Mm-hmm.
speaking against God.
Mm-hmm.
I could see where we could like that grumbling or complaining can be um like a vice,
Mm-hmm.
sure, where it's problematic. So I think it's good to distinguish between like needing to speak about things that are problematic in our lives and then just complaining. And typically I think complaining has to do with more of what kind of just doing it for the sake of something else, either to be noticed or to, yeah, just to kind of air grievances or, that sort of thing. Whereas like, or to do something publicly in a way that's just like not appropriate or that sort of thing. I think that speaking about like a chronic pain or that sort of thing, bearing that, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that well, I would say it's definitely not blasphemy, but can it be like too much? Yeah, I think it can be. Can it be like a crutch in that sort of way? Yeah, I think so. But um, yeah, it's not blasphemy. And then to answer your question about getting over the urge to complain, I think that I mean I kind of balk sometimes at this sort of offer it up mantra, but I think seeing the sufferings that we endure, whatever they might be, large, small, long standing, not long standing, that they're opportunities for us to grow in union with Christ and his suffering. So we can offer them for other people, we can offer them for ourselves. So I think putting like meaning, not arbitrary meaning, but some meaning behind what we endure can help at least look at things a bit differently. I don't know. What do you think, Father Bonaventure?
Yeah. I was looking for a big Faustina fan, and she does a whole lot of suffering kind of stuff, and she's these great. Oh, it's in like the early 300s or 200s or something. So like 276 says, from the moment I came to love suffering, it ceased to be suffering for me. Suffering is the daily food of my soul, which seems like insane. Um, but she also talks about suffering. I love this. I can't find this. I think it's in 300, early 300 or something. I wish I knew this diary better. But she says at one point that suffering is like the thermometer of one's love for Christ, because it gauges kind of how close you are to him, because he does share sufferings. I mean, obviously chronic he does share sufferings in life with those whom he loves. Like she says another point, like your best, your friends with those who you suffer with. because you'll tolerate to have them around. And there's something about suffering in little things or sizable things. It requires a grace, but an attentiveness, like you're saying, an intentionality about seeing the sufferings as an opportunity to be close to Christ on the cross, and close to the cross in general, and close to the sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary, for instance. And the saints have, and I can't speak of this personally. My life's pretty good, but the saints always say that suffering is a great gift, and that there's a great intimacy with Christ, because in suffering, everything's taken from you, and you're left with either choosing to cling to Christ or not. So I think it's a matter of trying to see the suffering as something that you can turn to Christ and cling to Him in the way that Mary does in the garden after the tomb, and that it takes a different color maybe in that way. But that's just they sound like spiritual pious claptrap, but I take it's true because of the saints and what especially Faustina says. So maybe read the diary too. She's great. Really has a lot of stuff to say about suffering.
Yeah, there you go. I've never read Faustina, so
Hmm.
I feel like I get enough from you. Not enough, but like I get from you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you
Yeah.
talk about her.
I
So,
do.
Yeah, great.
There you go.
Sweet. All right. One more question from one of our Patreon supporters. We've been taught as children that we each have a unique guardian angel. Is the notion of guardian angels referenced in the Bible? And if not, where does it come from? Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I'm going to answer, or?
Yeah. I mean, so no, it's not explicitly, but it is indirectly. Jesus never says your guardian, like your guardian angel in that phrase, but he does say the angels of the little ones. He does refer to angels and little ones and individuals that have them. And then there's a sense of in the Old Testament, when you see the angels coming around, there's a sense of them looking after particular people, although it's usually the same angels. So there is this, and there is this talk actually about. I take that back. It depends on the translation, I guess. I don't know if it says guardian angels, but there's angels that guard over you.
Yeah.
And so the doctrine itself is a reflection, you could say, from what Christ says in the scriptures and the church's reflection on that. It's not. I wouldn't say it's clear. It's clear teaching in the sense that when Jesus says He's divine in the scriptures, but it's there. And then the church has just kind of reflected upon that and made some developments. Is that, yeah, where's that? Is that Luke? Is that the Gospel of Luke where he says that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does mention something like not
Yeah.
everyone
The
individually has one, but that there are guardian angels for people.
Yeah, the Psalms refer to angels guarding us as well,
Mhm.
and then the Catechism talks about the guardian angels. So,
Yes.
right, I think it's in the 300s. I remember we were talking about guardian angels around the feast of the guardian angels after the feast of the archangels, and I believe it's around 300. If you do like a Google search kind of thing for that, I'm sure you can find some direct scriptural references as not direct in the sense of there is a guardian angel, but the scripture references that Father
Mhm.
Bonaventure
Yep.
is talking about, and then the Catechism too, to get a little bit
Oh,
more on
can
that.
I go back
So,
to the suffering one?
sure.
Cool. Okay, so Faustina's 343 is the really beautiful passage where she talks a lot about suffering there. And she says, oh yeah. So 342 says, suffering is the greatest treasure on earth. It purifies the soul. In suffering, we learn who is our true friend. I love that. And then 343, true love is measured by the thermometer of suffering. Jesus, I thank you for the little daily crosses, for oppositions to my endeavors, for hardships of communal life, for the misinterpretations of my intentions, for humiliations at the hands of others, for the harsh way in which we were treated, for false suspicions, for poor health and loss of strength, for self-denial, for dying to myself, for the lack of recognition, everything, for the upsetting of all my plans. She goes on with a few others and just says, I thank you for this, and ends with this kind of, oh, uncreated beauty. Whoever comes to you once cannot love anything else. I can feel the bottomless abyss of my soul. Nothing will fill it but God Himself, and all this sort of thing. So I love that in suffering you'll know who your true friend is. I think that's great. So 342, 343.
There you go. All right, let's turn to some questions from our listeners. If you're tuned in now and want to drop some in the comment box, please do so. We are ready and willing.
Let's do it.
Well, here we're going to start here. Kimberly asked, "Can I ask questions now?" Yes, you can. Great. From Emily, peace be with you, fathers. Happy memorial of the presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Same to you. This fall, I would suggest a full review of Santissimus Annus 25, The Narrow Path Between Cowardice and Violence. I
Oh,
like that. That's not the worst idea. Thanks,
Santissimus Annus is fantastic. That's a great document. I'll be teaching that in politics next semester, using that for stuff. That's great. Yeah.
Maybe we'll take it up. Awesome. From H.G. Moss, good middle of the night, fathers.
Boom.
Good middle of the evening from us. Also from H.G. Moss, a question. Hello, fathers. It's that time of year again. Can you please recommend resources on explaining how Christmas isn't pagan and how the Zeitgeist and Da Vinci Code aren't accurate?
Man, we still doing that? Is that I kind of thought this whole Newsweek, Christmas comes around, Discovery Channel, this is fake. It's actually based on a pagan myths. I don't know. I kind of felt that was like a 2000s to 2010 bit, and now it's just kind of everyone's. You either believe in Christmas and Christianity, or you just don't care. Like the idea of debunking it, post like the Dawkins movement kind of stuff ended. But people still care about this? Like people still have their hackles up about whether it's pagan or not? Like, do you find that?
I mean, I've heard the question before, but
yeah, I don't know. That's yeah, I mean, Catholic Answers, Jimmy Akin is the place to go for this sort of thing. He spends all of his time doing these kind of things. So if you go to catholicanswers.com, I think it is, or just go to Jimmy Akin, AJIMMYAKIN. He has a lot of resources for this kind of stuff. He does a lot of apologetic stuff. So I suspect he's the kind of go-to source for like kind of punchy, pithy, quick ways of saying actually, the December 25th was, December 25th was chosen, I think, because of Annunciation or something. So like there's most of the myths in the zeitgeist about this stuff is based on kind of half-baked stories that have something about them that actually is missing the other part about it. So you can have confidence with that kind of thing. But I just can't just tell someone to get out of the 90s. It's over,
Enough said. Boom. All right, from Reagan Quigley. Hey, fathers, I hope all is well. It is. Thanks. Random question. Are there any book to movie adaptations that you really enjoyed or you were perhaps surprised that you liked?
Great question.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
You want me to jump in there here again?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So one of the best, obviously, is Blade Runner. This is an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, small book, which isn't bad. And by the way, if you want to understand Blade Runner, you need to read that book first. But Ridley Scott, I think, did Blade Runner. Yeah, and he did a great job. That movie is spectacular. That's really, really good. And that's one of the few cases I think where the movie is better than the book. Blade Runner 2049 is great too, but it's not based on a book as far as I can tell.
I'm trying to think. There was something I saw recently, like within the last year, as far as what I mean by recently.
Oh.
But it's not coming to mind, and I thought that was good, but
not The Hobbit, great. Obviously.
No,
I've never seen them, but I'm going to pronounce on that.
I thought some of the Lord of the Rings were good. I mean, obviously they cut a lot out because time. But I thought some of those
Fellowship was the first one was Fellowship was really good. What surprised other?
I don't know.
There's obviously BBC's Brideshead Revisited with Jeremy Irons and Anthony Andrews, I think his name is great. That's really, really good.
Miniseries thing, yeah.
Miniseries. Oh yeah, it's not really a movie.
Yeah, I think it's
okay. Well, if that's true, also Dostoevsky's The Idiot in 2005, the Soviet-Russian arts made a miniseries of that, and that's spectacular. And it's hard to do Dostoevsky any sort of thing, but that's really good. Crime and Punishment with Ben Kingsley is not as good. That's really just tough to do. Yeah. And there's a War and Peace one too. I don't know. That's got to be awful too.
You got me. If it comes to mind, I'll jump back in on it. But
Eat, Pray, Love. I have not seen it, but I'm sure it's bad.
Fair.
Both.
Okay, here we go. Next comment from Emily. Holy Mary, Mother of God, is the shortest, safest, sweetest, safest way to Jesus. St. Louis.
Fact.
Amen. All right. Raymond. Hey, Raymond. How you doing? Fathers, right. Hope you're all well. Could you speak about the ensoulment of identical twins? Happy Thanksgiving. Same to you. I've never thought about the ensoulment of identical twins.
No?
Well, I'm not a twin. You're a twin, but you're not an identical twin.
Yeah. Never thought about this. This is a tricky one.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah, because you have a splitting, you have it looks like early on with identical twins are tricky. Because if you believe that the soul was implanted at conception, with identical twins, as far as I understand, my biology's rusty. Um, but there is a conception of one sperm, one egg. This is correct,
And
and
it's
then it
split.
splits
Yeah.
into two. But the thing is, it splits after you've had the conception. So only one of the twins has a soul
And the other
because the
doesn't.
soul is exactly. So it's
Okay,
really
well,
hard to
that can't
tell.
be the answer.
Yeah, but no, I can't. But it is. This is a. I mean, good question about in so like this isn't a problem for Thomas when he does like the 40-day kind of business and the quickening. But for if you believe in conception in the soul being ensouled in conception, you might wonder what's going on here because you have to have a second soul basically infused when the thing splits, and then you get to mereological parts questions about like, well, which one has the real one? Which one's the first one? Does it matter? Who sort of thing. And then you can kind of start wondering, well, maybe there's no ensoulment of souls. I don't know. This sounds kind of weird anyway. Maybe we just kind of like emerge, blah, blah, blah. So identical twins are really like for the ensoulment question, they're a tough case. You just have to kind of say, well, the soul when the new material, when there's the split, the soul is ensouled there. And you might think that seems ad hoc, but the whole thing's kind of ad hoc, right? There's no time in God's choices of things. So ensoulment is always kind of a momentary whenever it needs to happen sort of thing, right? There's always a linking of the human sexual act and God ensouling. There's always this kind of like thing. So that it happens in this way is not that different if you think about it metaphysically than when it normally happens.
Hmm.
Right. So it's initially it seems like a problem. I've thought about this a bit. Initially it seems like a problem that we'd worry about, but it's just a good reminder that ensoulment itself is weird for us, and we just have to just bite the bullet on that one. And then once that happens, you're just, so what? So that whenever a sperm and an egg come together, a soul comes in, and whenever there's a split of a sperm and an egg into two things, split it of a being, then you get another soul. That's not big. If you already have an ensoulment, you basically got enough credit in your bank account to do the second one. But it is a weird case. It's a very weird case. But there's some resources on that if you look that up. You'll find plenty of Catholic philosophers talking about this particular issue, and there's a couple different ways you could go on it. But I think the one delayed ensoulment of that second one is one way you could do it.
Cool. All right, from Allison. Hey, fathers, good to see you. You make me laugh. Thanks. In keeping with your lightheartedness tonight, what's your favorite Thanksgiving pie?
Mm-hmm.
I think mine's pumpkin. I say
Pumpkin's
that sadly, but it's not sad. I like pumpkin pie a lot, so that would be it.
My mom makes a mean apple pie, so it's apple pie. But that's always apple pie is always available. Sweet potato pie is kind of what I generally associate with Thanksgiving. I think there's usually two. So I'd say apple's
Sweet
number
potato,
one,
not
and then
pumpkin.
I'll take sweet potato over pumpkin any day of the week.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And we
I
always
had
had
apple.
pumpkin. It was okay.
Yeah, I had apple pie today.
Nice.
I met some people at one of the diners in town and for breakfast, and rather than I got a breakfast like sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese on an English muffin, and instead of a side like that standard side, I got a slice of apple pie because
Apple pie and a cup of coffee is one of the
why not?
best things in the morning.
It's good. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's once in a while. It's really, really delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, from Emily again. I've read all of St. Faustina's diary. Towards the
Yeah.
end, she admits that she burned her original diary. So what did I just read? I wondered. I share her devotion to the Divine Mercy.
Oh, good question. I think she burned a part of it, but she had to rewrite the thing. So you have read her diary, but I forget whether that was the whole thing or was the initial thing, because you notice at the start of the diary, it's not, it's kind of disjointed a bit. So I think it's the earlier part she had to rewrite, but I don't think she rewrote the whole thing, but I'm not positive about that. Yeah.
There you go. From H.G. Moss responding to the Christmas pagan thing. Thanks, fathers. Tik Tok brought it back for mistake
Oh
number
no.
one, with added Marxist oppressor and oppress the Christians as the apparent oppressor, and how it's a conspiracy for white supremacy. This is why you should just delete TikTok.
Yeah, it's tough to get into. Something
Yeah.
it's worse than talking to a 5-year-old about the preexistence of God.
Yeah. That's the answer. All right, from Wendy. One of the I don't even know what this means because it's Blade Runner. So you might.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Wendy. That's fantastic. Yep, replicants, absolutely.
Also from Wendy. This is for you again, Father Bonaventure. Did you ever drink at Gabriels Gate in the City of Lights? I think
City
it's
of
on Allen Street,
City of Lights is New
Paris.
York,
I thought it was Paris.
Paris, Allen
But
Street. No, I've
is
never
it
drinking at Gabriel's
Oxford?
Gate that I know of. It's not probably not Oxford. Allen Street, I don't know of. So it's probably my lookalike. There are a few people send my sister-in-law sends me pictures of priests that look just like me, and there's a surprising number of them that do look like me. So it could have been one of them.
Huh. Is the City of Lights Buffalo?
I doubt it.
It is Buffalo.
Is it Buffalo?
Yeah.
Wow, who knew? And I grew up there.
145 Buffalo Street. I mean 145 Allen Street, Buffalo, New York.
Okay, Gail. I
But
have never drank there, but I will, since Buffalo's a city of lights, huh? Fascinating. Who knew?
didn't know that.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
Gabriel's Gate, City of Lights.
We're gonna jump over Reagan's real quick just because there are two from Mike Lynch and we'll hold them together. Mike Lynch. Hello, fathers. Hello. Here we go. Do you guys have beer or wine on feast days and holidays?
Good
Yes,
question.
we do.
Yeah, this is kind of nice. Yeah, we have a chance to kind of have nice wine at Thanksgiving and Christmas and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I might have
Some
a
other feast days in between.
pre-Randalls or something. Yeah, we do. Yeah, but it's kind of everyone's a joyous occasion. And Thanksgiving's fun in a house because there's not as much liturgical bling going on. Like Christmas, you're kind of doing more stuff, and then Easter, you're exhausted. But Thanksgiving, you can just enjoy
Pretty
the community
relaxed,
life with each other. Very nice, very nice.
Yep. Cool. From Reagan, another question. Recently, someone I was chatting with said exceeding the speed limit or rolling a stop sign are grave matter. I'm pretty hesitant to get on board with that. What would you say? I would say it's definitely not grave matter in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be dangerous. So it could do that, but in itself, well, speeding's a tricky one, I think, because the law isn't enforced. Like the police, it's just known that police officers don't enforce this. Speed cameras don't enforce this. They do a 10 over, this kind of thing. So it's a weird law in that way. It's not like if, for instance, like there's a law against murder, and you're allowed to do it kind of like once, or you're allowed to like almost kill someone. Speed limit's weird in that way because you're not allowed to go over it, but no one's we don't enforce that law.
Yeah.
Stop signs are a little more clear cut. Yeah, that's a little more like don't run that. But I don't think the matter. The matter's not grave unless there's like a person in front or something. But like just running. Yeah. No, unless you're really serious about this and you think like the law is always grave matter. But even I wouldn't go that far. Although I never run stop signs if I can see them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a good practice, but I don't think think that rolling through a stop sign will send you to hell.
Yeah,
which is what we would have.
Unless you intend rolling through that stop sign as your way of wanting to go to hell, like you can use that.
Now we're overcomplicating it, but yes, yeah, it is not grave matter. So don't get on board with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. This is from Anthony. Hi, Father Bonaventure. Just wanted to say I had an awesome time at the Young Adult Retreat in Malvern, and it was great getting to know you.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. This is a great opportunity to meet people actually face to face.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but last year we did a little promo of our retreats, not promo, like a preview promo, but like just promoting them and stuff, and with some of our donors. And we're recording little kind of like videos for them too. So I was thinking about the retreats today and getting to meet and be with people. I like that a lot. It's a fun time. It's good. Cool. From HG Moss again, Godsplaining. Can you please explain the church's teaching on AI? I don't think the church has teaching on AI. Maybe she said some things, but I think it's a little too soon. Yeah,
things changing. And I suppose it depends what AI, like brain implants and that kind of stuff. If that could be a mutilation question, or you could go down that route. I think you're talking about this question is more about like ChatGPT and massive AI stuff, and it's just not there for magisterial teaching yet. It's there, and we should avoid it in some ways, or at least figure out what we're going to do with it. I think it's going to change all of our lives so dramatically that the civilization is more or less over. But the church hasn't weighed in on it yet.
That's bold. It's big.
I think it's knowledge is over. I did this with Father Patrick on the way to the retreat for like 45 minutes. I there's no time for it here. It gets super depressing and dark, but there's literally no hope.
Well, how about a happier subject then?
Yeah, that's good. Let's do that.
Great. So, Mike, on the drinking thing, if I joined the OPs, I would be drinking beer, not wine. Well,
Maybe both, but not
and yet
together.
wine
Yeah.
is more traditional. At table, we only drink wine, so
Yeah.
that's kind of it. But
It's true.
there are opportunities to enjoy beer as well.
Wow, we nailed through these things, huh?
Yeah. What? What's
yeah. No, that's it. That's all. Yeah. Look at that. Wow, everyone gets
any
this.
final questions for this evening?
Everyone's getting ready for
Now's your
Thanksgiving,
last
I guess,
chance.
huh? Tomorrow.
know.
I mean Thursday. Traveling. It's a traveling day.
It is. Yeah, I think so. I'm not traveling, but I suspect it
Oh.
is. All right, y'all. Well, we've run through. Oh, here we go. All right, one more. Last one from Reagan for now. Father Jacob Bertrand, how would you compare your experience as a parish pastor to life in community? Well, we still live in a community. At our parishes, we still have our community attached to the parish. So I still live in community. The life of a pastor is different. I was vocation director before, living at the House of Studies in Washington, D.C., where Father Bonaventure currently lives, which has a much more kind of monastic rhythm and feel to the life, because it's, I mean this in a positive way, not a negative way, but it's kind of a place that's internally focused, because there we're focused on the formation of our brothers. So it doesn't have a necessarily outward facing apostolate as a parish does. So there's differences in sort of attention and time, but I still live in a community. It's a small one here, but I still live in a community. So it makes life a lot better for sure. I've
got an update from my dad. City of Lights comes from the Pan American, now this is coming back to me, exposition in 1901 in Buffalo. So they lit up the buildings with the power from Niagara Falls, because that has a lot of generation power on it. Robert Moses Parkway is up there too. So City of Lights is Buffalo from 1901 Pan American exposition. I'm sure I knew that. So thanks, Dad.
Cool. All right. From Flash. Hello, followers. I work for the New York State Museum, and I've noticed that it is one of our cultural institutions that has embraced cultural Marxism. I'm wondering if is it sinful to work for an institution like this?
Depends. I mean, it depends how close and what that involves. If cultural Marxism means like stepping on crosses and denying the faith as you walk into the building, then probably. But in terms of just like the disappointing slide into wokeism and progressivism, I don't think it need be sinful. It just gets depressing. So it's probably a matter of prudential reasoning about like, what can you work somewhere else? Would it be better for you? Is this causing like, I mean, I would cause me incredible frustration to work in an institution like that, for instance. And that would be dangerous to my soul in terms of, growing angry all the time and being bitter. So, and then the conversations, does it put you in a difficult point? I mean, are you having to support things there with your money and time and all of this, and how deep it goes? So and what's the impact, you could say? Is it cultural Marxism as just like storefront kind of propaganda bits, or is it actually like doing things? Depends on I don't think the museum's offering abortions, for instance, but that kind of stuff. If it's just a museum offering this kind of stuff, it might just be for your own soul. That's good to be out of, but yeah.
Cool.
Boom.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap it there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, leave us a review. Check out our website, godsplaining.org. We have some events coming up in the new year, which should be a lot of fun. So if you haven't been on a retreat or one of our events, we'd love to have you. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so by going to patreon.com/godsplaining and check us out there. We're grateful to all of our supporters. And thank you too for tuning in tonight. Y'all have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you soon. Take care. God bless.